Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. I am passionate about organizing because it makes my clients' lives so much easier, more relaxed, and with more time to spend the way they want to. That's what organizing is all about, not about being neat or having the right containers. It's about getting more time for what matters to you. My specialty is chunking down this big topic so it's not overwhelming. That's the concept behind my book, 5 Minutes to a Relaxing Bedroom. And that's the concept for this podcast too, which is based on my first book, 52 Simple Ways to Get Organized. Both books are available on my website and on Amazon. In every podcast, I'll lay out a simple organizing concept and tell you why it's important. I'll include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away. Okay, here we go. Today's podcast is called All You Can Read Buffet, based on Chapter 3 of my book, 52 Simple Ways to Get Organized. Have you ever been to an all-you-can-eat buffet? They're dangerous because they tempt you to load up your plate with more than you could possibly eat, just so that you can get your money's worth. If you've bellied up to the reading buffet, man, you could be in big trouble. I define reading material as anything you're specifically saving to read. Books, magazines, and newspapers, of course, but also brochures, entertainment calendars, grocery store circulars, catalogs, and product information. All those things, particularly magazines and newspapers, will pile up your tray to the sky. How much can you consume? If you get 2 daily newspapers, a few weekly magazines, and 5 to 6 monthly publications, plus the toe-crushing Sunday paper, your reading pile gets very high very quickly. Add on to that books, work reading, and organization newsletters. No one reads that much in any given month. The insidious trouble with magazines and newspapers is that you read the most interesting and important articles, but since that was only a small portion of the whole thing, you save the rest for later, because you already took it from the buffet and you put it on your tray. But that way lies madness, my friends. Let me just lay it out for you. Every single day there will be more interesting articles that you don't have time to read, and tomorrow will bring still more. Here's a quotation from the former CEO of Google. Between the birth of the world and 2003, there were 5 exabytes of information created. We now create 5 exabytes every 2 days. I don't even know what an exabyte is, but I can tell you it's big. That is what you're up against. What about clipping articles for later and ditching the magazine? It's a good strategy, but use it sparingly. It's time-consuming and it's recommended only for important information you can't get elsewhere or will use immediately. It's true it'll make your reading stack shorter, but it doesn't address the underlying problem of too much. I consulted with a doctor once who was overwhelmed by all the reading she had to do for work. She was so overwhelmed that she had given up reading entirely. Keeping up with medical trends and news is a huge job. I suggested she form a group of colleagues in her field and divvy up the reading among them. They could write up brief notes to pass around so everyone would at least get the highlights of the article. Not ideal, perhaps, but she told me with relief that she realized that doing some reading was far better than doing no reading. Scanning things to read later is another common strategy. I was surprised to read on a prominent organizing website the advice to spend time going through each magazine to mark articles to save, then later spending more time to tear out the pages and scan them. But there's no mention of when you actually read the articles. What? She's taken the time to create a curated library of reading material, but I'm willing to bet she never reads most of it. I say forget the scanning and get real about how much time you can and will devote to reading. Keep reading material in a container so that when a new magazine arrives, you can take the oldest issue out and toss it out to make room for the new ones. Newspapers need to get recycled daily, because that's how often a new one takes its place. Remember, it's news. News is new, except when it's yesterday's news. As for books, my advice is to keep a list of the books you'd like to read, but don't go out to buy one until you've got time to read. Look around at your bookshelves. How many books do you see there that you were excited to read, but then you didn't get around to it, and now they just sit there on the shelf? My personal strategy is to get books from the library. Not only do I get to give the book back when I'm done, but the loan period gives me a deadline to read it by. That is really helpful. Instead of spending money to acquire a book, I only spend money if I don't read it in a timely manner. Let's get back to the underlying issue. It's not reducing clutter in your home, although that's important. It's not reducing the nagging stress you feel confronted by all the piles of stuff you haven't read yet, but that's also an important thing to do. The important thing that I'm talking about now is realizing that you have better ways to spend your time than managing paper. Have you got several banker's boxes full of recipes you clipped that you're going to sort through? Stop a minute and realize how long that will take. Even if you do it now and again while watching TV, it'll probably take a year. And throughout that year, new recipes are coming down the pike every day. You really can't keep up with everything. Make time for reading, but don't let it take over your life. And don't let managing reading material take over your life either. Your action step today is to put yesterday's newspaper or last week's magazines in the recycling, now. Bonus points for getting magazines into a basket where you can manage them better. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and a review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to it. Read my blog at www.cluttercoach.net. The blog is also where you'll find the show notes. And check out my store to find books I've written and books and products that I recommend, and some freebies, too. Come back for more next week.